Welcome to The Know, I'm Meg Turney.
I'm Jenkins.
People are constantly asking YouTube about fair use, but if the music industry has its way, fair use could be a thing of the past.
Kind of like the music industry.
Thing. According to some recent statements by the Recording Industry Association of America, apparently YouTube doesn't take copyright seriously enough. Guess there's a first time for everything.
Definitely the first time I've heard that. They're now fighting for YouTube to clamp down even tighter on copyrighted material. In a new interview, the RIAA took quite a few shots at the video streaming service and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. That's the law that protects YouTube from liability over copyright damages.
They believe two things. Number one, that the DMCA should be revisited because it's hurting the entire creative industry. And number two, that YouTube takedowns should be more aggressive than they already are.
Speaking with Recode, Carrie Sherman, head of the RIAA, said that notice and takedowns should turn into notice and stay down, saying if we had a system where once a song was taken down, you had a filtering system that prevented it from going back up, we wouldn't have to be sending hundreds of millions of notices on the same content over and over again. Dude really understands how YouTube works.
Yeah, absolutely. He went on to say, maybe then we'd begin to make a difference with all the pirated copies on all of the websites. That as long as there isn't a stay down, we can't deal with that. It's just not possible.
Wow, that's some Daredevil versus Punisher full measure stuff going on here.
Full Walter White. Of course, Sherman doesn't stop there. He also compared YouTube's licensing negotiation tactics to a protection racket.
Sure it is. About negotiating with YouTube over takedowns, Sherman said YouTube acknowledges that they'll never be able to keep content off their platform completely. According to him, they basically say, that's a real nice song you got there. Be a shame if anything happened to it.
What does this guy think YouTube is?
Is like a cartoon?
Yeah, like cronies. We'll get him, Muggsy. All right.
Wow.
For the music industry, YouTube is hiding behind DMCA to take massive profits from the record labels. Now, as a result, the Copyright Office is now conducting a study to determine the effectiveness of DMCA and whether or not it should be updated by the government.
I wonder how the Fine Brothers would react to that.
Speaking of dead industries.
Sherman goes on to cite the disparity between the rise of Silicon Valley and the fall of various creative industries, stating that all of them have suffered. We're half the size we were, and we're flat, and we haven't been growing, and that's true of all the creative industries. Because he clearly hasn't been paying attention to the fact that a ton of creative industries like movies and video games are way up.
Yeah, it sounds like he's like just stomping his feet, being like, oh, this isn't the money I was promised. By the way, he mostly blames piracy, plus YouTube for giving them poor cuts compared to other streaming services like Spotify.
So you're comparing one industry that rode the back of change with another that fought it tooth and nail, and it's the other guy's fault that you're hurting. Yeah, we buy it.
Absolutely. The reason the RIAA is making such a big fuss about this right now is because the three of the group's biggest music labels will be able to renegotiate their current contracts with YouTube in the very near future. Currently, they get a portion of ad revenue from videos on the YouTubes that feature their music.
But since streaming now has become the biggest moneymaker for music, they feel like YouTube is cheating them. Last month, the RIAA released a graph showing that for the first time, streaming is now the leading revenue generator for the industry.
For them, the solution is pretty simple. Google needs to give them more money and take a hardcore stance on takedowns.
Now, it's not too often that YouTube's accused for being too light on copyright claims. Lately, they've come under fire for multiple instances where creators have had videos removed, revenue stolen, or even entire channels taken down because of heavy-handed DMCA notices.
There are also so many recent stories about this. It's basically like a grab bag of offenses. Just in the last few months, we've had the contentious takedowns of Team 4-Star, I Hate Everything, and Channel Awesome.
And the list gets longer all the time. This has all started a conversation about fair use and what it means to be on YouTube, but in this case, we have an industry that's convinced that if people weren't listening to their songs on YouTube, well, they'd be out paying for the music somewhere.
I love how optimistic you are.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and that's really the big problem here with Sherman's assumptions, and also his plans about how notice and takedown should work. Under the RIAA's proposal, notice and stay down would affect any other video on YouTube that includes the song for which they file a notice.
To which YouTube is like, what?
Yeah.
In a statement they recently supplied to the Copyright Office about that study we mentioned earlier, YouTube said that Content ID already takes care of this stay-down approach.
We know how well that works.
Well, I mean, the thing about Content ID is it's an automated system, so it just goes out, you say you're a copyright holder, you upload a reference, and then it goes out and just finds things that meet that reference and pulls them down. You can't stop things from being uploaded, but it catches a lot of stuff.
It does. It screws up sometimes, but sure. YouTube, by the way, cites Content ID as one of the major proofs that they're working with the industry and not against them. According to them, over 98% of all YouTube's copyright removal claims have come through Content ID. Although, again, we've seen how that can go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, it's not 100%. As for the RIAA's insistence that YouTube basically runs a protection racket which hides behind the DMCA's safe harbor laws, well, depending on your perspective, it could be considered fair. I'm sure the music industry considers it fair.
Absolutely. In all likelihood, YouTube probably isn't giving the music industry the rate that another streaming service like Apple Music or Tidal.
Ooh, yeah. Tidal. Everyone loves Tidal.
Everyone loves Tidal. Gives to the music industry. But at this point, vinyl brings in more money than ad-supported streaming music like they get from YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube's stance essentially amounts to, we can't stop people from putting it up completely, so take our rate or get nothing? Either way, your music's going to be on the platform. And that's sort of the music industry's perspective, but even that's not necessarily true, because they can Content ID everything they want and just pull everything down.
Absolutely.
You don't have to leave it up.
And YouTube isn't saying, like, fuck you for having copyright. They're just being realistic. And while they're being realistic, that doesn't really make them want to be your best buds if you're the music industry. You really can't blame the record industry for wanting something similar that it's getting from other websites, and you can't blame YouTube for feeling realistic about what can happen.
Yeah, because on the other hand, they're the ones who made their own bed when it comes to digital revenue. They've resisted it for so long. They've only just recently had digital sales overtake physical sales for the first time last year, which is bananas. Were they the last creative industry left to do that?
Guys, cassettes are doing so well for us. They also sort of left themselves in the unenviable position of letting everybody else build the new business models and dictate the terms to them rather than the other way around.
And even though the RIAA likes to say every creative industry is hurting thanks to things like the DMCA and piracy, it's really not the case. Just this week, the head of the Motion Picture Association of America said that the film industry has, quote, never been stronger, with new box office records being set pretty much every quarter now.
Yeah, for YouTube's part in all this, they claim that to date, they've paid out more than $3 billion to the music industry.
That's a lot of moolah.
That's a lot of money. And in addition to that, the fact that YouTube's service represents so much more than audio-only content does mean that the comparison to services like Spotify is kind of apples to oranges.
No matter how this shakes out for YouTube and their protection under DMCA, it seems like YouTube still has a lot of work to do with how they handle copyright on every side of the equation, especially when it comes to music, apparently.
Absolutely. They're basically trying to walk a very thin tightrope at this point that allows them to make money from not only content creators, but also from people who hold licenses to media copyrights all over the world. At the moment, the system just kind of pisses everybody off, which some could say it's proof that it's working as well as could be expected.
I mean, that's what you get. That's what a good compromise is. If everyone's mad, you got compromise. Not entirely sure if we buy that one. Either way, they're gonna have to keep revisiting the system to keep making it more palatable for all parties.
Yeah.
So good luck with that one.
Absolutely. As for the future of the music industry and why it's raising such a stink about DMCA now, for all the other reasons that we listed earlier, even though the battle has been won to court, Sherman has a great response to that. He says, "We accept the inevitability of death. It doesn't mean we have to like it."
Oh, fair enough, I guess. Ride or die, music bros.
That's right, you live your lives a quarter mile at a time. So what do you guys think of YouTube's approach to copyright and the RIAA's complaints? Are they living in the Stone Age? The answer is yes. Leave your comments in the comments down below.
For more updates on fair use, paid use, licensed use, and any other ways someone might make money off of your eyeballs, like this video and subscribe to The Know. Oh, we're gonna start selling eyeballs.
Content ID eyeballs. Those are mine.
Sweet.
Yippee.